All right, welcome everybody. Friday Night Live. I've done depression anxiety videos plenty of times before. It worked out pretty well. Um, I did put a stop to them only because it got a little further involved with my depression anxiety, and it was starting to hurt. I got a little involved of some of my personal life, which I don't mind bringing up in the panel here. And we will be talking about it more as the night goes. I plan on doing this between 6 and 8 tonight. You may not know somebody, maybe yourself, or maybe you do know somebody that suffers from depression and anxiety. So basically, what we do is I play some video clips. I open up the panel. If you'd like to come up on the panel, you do not need the camera on. You could also have a different name posted on the bottom. This way, nobody knows who you are, anonymous. Or you could be able to say something in the chat. We could highlight it and be able to discuss about that. Uh, I also have to let everybody know I am not a doctor. I only up here to be able to bring up this awareness that I'm not afraid to tell everybody this is what I suffer from. And we should not. If we suffer from depression and anxiety, we should be able to talk about it. And a lot of times people don't like to talk about this to their friends or family. So what do? They talk to strangers about it. And this is where you can go. On the very, very bottom, you'll see something scroll on the bottom. It's the Lifeline. It's free, confidential. I'm sorry, I can't speak very good. I was available 24 hours a day. Call the chat to talk to somebody. 988. So I have a few things I do have to mention. I do have a lot of people that's in the chat. I will name off who's in the chat very shortly. I also would like to say, if you like to become a membership to the Lucky 7 Mud Mowers, I got a lot of videos. I got way too many. There's over 600 something videos. I've been doing YouTube now for over 10 years. I'm finally just about the 2,500 subscriber mark, which is pretty decent for myself. So if you want to hit that membership to help support the Lucky 7 Mud Mowers YouTube videos, I'd like to say thank you very much to Kentucky Girl, Bucky Life Journey, Pull a Bear Ed's Garage, aka my mom and dad, Michael Telling, Caller and Friends, Val Lady 49, Mower Outlaw, and Grandpa's Adventures. At one time, we had close to 50 members, but I did disappear off of YouTube for a little while, and I have been trying to get back on and try to do what I can to support a lot of people out there. So we're going to go start up the top. There's several people in here. JCT, she typed in 988. So once again, if you have any issues and you want to talk to somebody, it doesn't have to be myself or a doctor, friend, or family. There you go. Pick up your phone, call, and dial 988. Let's see. We got Mud Digger in there. We got Jane Miller, Val Lady 49. Let's see. Again, it says I typed in, hello everyone. Thanks for being here. Please hit the like and share. I want to say thank you very much. Just shared this over with my son. Thank you very much. Couple of things here. You may know someone if yourself that suffers from depression and anxiety. You could also find some of these videos here on my playlist description, depression and anxiety. We got Lucky 7 best friend out there. Like to say hello to you, Dawn. Jane saying thank you. My brother from my other mother, Brandon. How you doing? Thank you. Once again, Brandon saying hi to Jane. Val ladies out there. And we have, I never thought you would have cared so much. Let's see. Warren Floyd, thank you. Wow, I never thought you would have cared so much. I'll come up and play if you like. Let's see. Mud Digger, Gene, everybody in there. You guys could be able to read the chat. you're going to pop the link up. Yes, I'm going to pop up the link. I do have several different videos, probably about 2 videos I think I pulled up. I like to play these videos to start off the broadcast in this way. Then I'll put up the link. So uh, let's start. Let's see what we could get into here. Just give me a second, trying to get this here going. And this one is Overcoming Depression, Powerful Motivation Speech from Jessica Hostin.
When you are depressed, you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to be bothered with anyone. But overcoming depression is going to require that you get up and engage with life again. When you are feeling down, the worst thing you can do is isolate yourself, because isolation actually intensifies sadness. So I recommend finding a distraction that will shift your energy. Beginning in my early 20s, I began to notice some of the symptoms of mild depression. For years, I struggled with worry, anxiety, and feelings of hopelessness. Whenever I experienced a minor setback, I would be hard on myself and I would become extremely discouraged. For some reason, it was hard for me to believe that I could get through difficult situations. I know from personal experience that depression has a way of transforming a typically happy and outgoing person into someone who is sad, withdrawn, and frustrated with life. But my background and my expertise didn't stop me from encountering my own dark moments that even my family and close friends knew nothing about. And I didn't just feel down every now and then. I went through depression. I went through a persistent feeling of sadness and hopelessness. I lost interest in many of the things that I previously enjoyed, and I honestly felt like my family and friends would be better off without me. I felt like a failure. I felt insufficient. I felt like I couldn't take life anymore. And so I know what it feels like to not want to get out of bed. I know what it feels like to experience deep and distressing hurt that seems impossible to push through. I had pretended to be happy for so long that no one would have believed me if I told them that I was struggling with depression. But now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm glad I didn't forfeit all that I've been able to experience and accomplish. So while you might feel discouraged, you don't have to be discouraged, because brighter days are coming.
Positive attitude.
Because I always felt alone in my battle, I didn't realize just how common depression was. I had no idea that 1 out of 10 people will experience depression during their lifetime. Do me a favor. Check on the people who are close to you. In most instances, the people who appear happy and appear strong are rarely asked how they are doing, because people assume their lives are perfect. You may not have considered this, but sometimes the person who is smiling every time you see them is privately battling depression.
All the time.
And so the first step in overcoming depression is acknowledging that something must change. You cannot fix what you do not face.
Exactly.
Suppression, denial, and pretending that everything is okay is not going to help you feel better. Yes, you can fool everyone else, but you can't fool yourself. You can't fool the person in the mirror, the person that you look at every single day. And I get it. When you appear to have it all together, it's not easy to let your guard down and say, hey, I'm struggling. I remember wondering how it was that I could lift everyone else up, but when it came to my own situation, I felt hopeless. But my situation began to improve only when I had the courage to confront the fact that I was not as happy as I appeared to be. I was suppressing the wound of rejection. I was suppressing childhood trauma, and I was harboring anger.
Every day.
So let me say this: uprooting anger and bitterness is not an easy thing to do. But at the end of the day, holding on to it does impact your physical, emotional, and mental health. So I say today, let it go. Let it go. I knew that I could no longer hold on to the anger that I was harboring because it was literally stealing my joy. And so today, I say, I want you to set yourself free. Set yourself free from the emotional turmoil that has been disrupting your peace.
Sometimes it's hard to let yourself free.
So after finally overcoming depression, I promised myself that I would put in the work necessary to experience authentic happiness. Not happiness based upon my circumstances, but happiness based upon a personal decision. And so now I'm mindful of when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I need to take a mental break, or when I need to utilize my support system. I'm challenging you to refuse to succumb to the negative thoughts that attempt to make you feel like your life will never get better. Remind yourself that you deserve to be happy and that your life will get better. When you are depressed, you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to be bothered with anyone.
True.
So I recommend finding a distraction that will shift your energy. You could turn on some uplifting music, watch an inspirational video, go for a walk, or call someone who will make you laugh. The key to feeling better is doing the exact opposite of what you feel like doing. You've got to get up. You've got to connect with others, especially when you don't feel like it. You have to find ways to avoid sinking because despair diminishes your productivity. In most instances, anxiety stems from a past experience or an anticipation of a negative experience. When you feel anxiety trying to creep in, you have to shift your focus from "this is not fair" or "why am I having to deal with this" to "I may not be feeling my best right now, but I will not allow worry or fear to sabotage the gift of this moment." Though it may feel natural to allow your mind to wander into worry and despair, you actually reinforce negative thinking by not challenging it. Your thoughts are impressions. They are not your identity. So be mindful of your thought patterns and interrupt them before they get out of control. Overcoming depression and committing to happiness takes work, but it is not impossible. Yes, mistakes happen, but making a mistake does not mean that you are a failure. Overcoming depression is not an overnight process. It takes work.
All right. So that was one of the videos there. I got one more thing. It's very sad. I'm not going to play the whole entire video. I did take a clip. I've been watching a couple videos, and this child was 16 years old. He suffered from depression and anxiety. Depression is so hard that he couldn't even be able to talk to somebody. Nobody that wanted trying to get the proper words out. He wanted to talk to people regarding his issues, but nobody at the school would be able to listen for his counselors. And the counselors just brushed him off. And this particular video. I'll add the link in the description after the video, this live broadcast, so you guys can watch the whole entire thing. When it came to the point where he actually broke into his school the night of his suicide, posted a letter on his friend's school locker, um, and he ended up taking off and was never seen again. They actually found his vehicle submerged underwater 4 years later. Uh, so I just thought it was something that I could be able to share. It's kind of sad. Uh, right. And then after this video here, we will open up the panel to proceed with a couple of things here. So this is a video here that was let me just double check, make sure it's all set here. Yes, you guys got to be careful with the emojis. The emojis, I do have Nightbot on. Most of the reason why is because this particular videos that I do host, we do get a lot of trolls in here. So Nightbot is actually trying its best to keep up with everything. So I appreciate if you guys just slow down on the emojis. My let's see. My mods out there, you guys know what to do if there any trolls come in. No exceptions. I do have this set on. You have to be a subscriber for at least 24 hours before you do comment. So I appreciate for the subscribers that I do have. You do respect my channel. All right, let's proceed with this, and then we'll open up the panel and we'll get this going here. I will put this full link on the description in the bottom and the links. This way you guys could be able to watch this full video after.
As we continue to watch Amy throughout the day, the still not wanting to believe, and I am 100% support her in not wanting to believe. Look, his father was not military, but was law enforcement. That with Jed, has a bug out plan. Is this a red herring? Is this part of his bug out plan? As we continue to find more and more evidence, that bug out plan and those theories become less and less. We now have a tennis shoe in the car. We now have the ammo bag in the car. We now have the holster in the car, which now leads us to believe that this really is the location in which Jedediah ended up.
16 years old. That's heavy. As a young man, he's still a baby in life. And if indeed there are human remains in this car, it's just tragic as it gets, regardless of the circumstances. Just 16 years old.
So it continues to be a tough one for me because the family did not call us in. They've not yet accepted that Jed needs to be found, regardless of where he's at. The family is much different than we have ever worked with before, and right now, emotionally, working with the family, I continue to say, is the most difficult that I've ever worked on, for that reason, as a parent. So,
when you lose someone you love and you don't have answers, in order to move forward, you have to put up walls to exist. And fortunately for us, we're able to travel the country and provide those answers to nightmares. And it's never closure. You never get over losing someone you love. But having the answers, is going to allow Alan and them to, just move forward and tear those walls down and know what happened. It's a lot.
All right. Sadly, he was discovered inside the vehicle. He actually took his father's firearm. As you've seen, he was the father was part of the police department. He took one of his father's firearms and decided to commit suicide. He drove his car into the lake. Same time, after the investigation, they realized that uh, he was deceased in the vehicle. He was left there for 4 years. They did a lot of searching, couldn't find him, but apparently this people found him. So, anyways, what we're gonna do is invite people into the panel. Uh, I think Mud Digger was asking for the link. There's the link. You do have to have a camera on when you're in the basement. Don't eat all the cookies down there because I want those cookies myself. Uh, Once I notice it's actually a legit person I know and seen and been on my panel before, you could shut your camera off and then you could pop up. You could change your name and description before you come up as well. Uh, so let me just go back in the past of my depression and anxiety. I suffer from that every day. Uh, I still fight it every day. It's just like my Facebook says, I'm a warrior. I fight it every day. I'm still fighting the battle. Uh, I was sexually abused when I was younger, and it proceeded to go on for many, many years. I held it in for a long time. A lot of things happened. It pretty much took over my life. As of today, it still haunts me. I suffer plenty of times thinking every morning, when is it going to end? It never does. You try to get on with your life, try to make something different, positive out of it, and it still comes back and haunts you. You could go with try not to think about it. Try to think of something positive, and it just never does. It's always going to be there. And you know, the sad thing is, one second, Mud Digger, I apologize. Let me just finish. What sad thing is, for what I do suffer from, I don't want people to say, "Oh, well, poor Lucky, this and that." You know what? It's a fact of friggin' life. All right. I suffer from depression and anxiety because I was sexually abused by one of my neighbors, and as of today, it still bothers me. And because I've tried to be strong and bring it up and tell everybody, okay, this is the reason why I am who I am today. You wouldn't believe the people that talk shit because of what happened to me and how I have my life today. It's to hate people. People that don't have the understanding what depression and anxiety is or what actually happened. They think it's all a freaking game to them.
Hey, is this okay?
It's up to you. Just try to keep it down as much as you can. Sorry. This is the reason why it's one of those things where I get too involved with my depression and anxiety videos because I'm attached to this stuff all the time. And this gives me my anxiety where I could be able to discuss and talk about it.
Well,
So
Lucky,
we have Mud Digger over here on my right side.
and Lucky's on my left. So, Lucky, man, I've got a very similar story to yours. I went through a bunch of molestation when I was a child as well. I went through about 10 years of it. And it wasn't a neighbor or a stranger. It was my godfather, my father's younger brother, who did it to me.
Right.
And I was 14 years old when I was old enough to really realize and understand what was going on and how wrong it was. Hi, son. No, you got no pants on, buddy, and it's cold out here. Hold on. I'll finish that first in a second. Come on, boys.
Okay, we have Mr. Briggs over here. How you doing, Mr. Briggs?
Shaking. So I'm gonna have to hop on here in a minute. I gotta go deal with the kids.
All right, that's fine. All right, so the link is there. If anybody needs the link, because it does happen to go up and does disappear, just put in there for the link, and I'll do the link for you. So, Mr. Briggs, you have anything to share?
Oh, wait. You had the same thing I had to you that I had happen, but mine was my stepfather, so I know.
So, I hosted these panels before, and we actually had a full panel at one particular time. I think it was a couple of times, and there was a lot of people that really wanted me to set up these depression anxiety videos and the freedom of speech videos. The freedom of speech is a little bit different, where you come up on a panel and talk about politics, depression. You talk about anything you want. The depression anxiety videos is basically try to get the awareness out there and let people know there, right there in the screen, you're looking at that person, you're looking at yourself, or the people that's in the chat. They could have depression anxiety, and they hide it. This is where you could say what you want to say. You know, a lot of people don't want to do this stuff because it's being public, it's out in the open. But you know what? It's the best thing you could be able to do is talk about it. If you keep something bottled up and you're hiding, you're never going to be able to get the right answers that you have questions in your own mind. There
Oh
are
yeah,
people out there that's just like myself, just like Briggs. There might be people that suffer from depression from, the way the economy is today, the anxiety, how things are not working out to their favor. They either lost their job, or they're on the verge of losing something in their household, or maybe even their house, because they lost their job and they can't be able to put food on the table. Or maybe they are putting food on the table, but just not enough. So that builds up the anxiety, because everything is right here. And we all take it to, I don't know, I'm kind of lost for words because my mind is still set on what I was talking about earlier. Uh, I could sit here all day and just talk about me. Uh, I'm just hoping that the people that do watch this video has enough, a little bit of courage to be able to come up on a panel and discuss about their issues. If you can't come up on a panel and you still want to talk, uh, 988 is the best way to be able to do. Uh, People could be able to inbox. There's certain ways you could be able to get a hold of people, friends, family, anyone. Uh, is this something you like to talk about, Mr. Briggs? Or
just a second. Let me get past this road jam.
okay, people who say, "Oh, get over it," or "Go on with your life," it doesn't work that way. No, it does not. All right, I have people throw in my face for who I am and what I do. They throw it in my face, but they don't know the reason, the true reason why it's happening. I, as of this day, I still don't know why it's happening, but it took part of my life. When something takes part of your life, it's not physical, it's mentally. It's mentally what took part of my life. I tried
Yeah,
I tried to sit there and talk about it with very close people, and they don't have that understanding on Okay, well, why can't you stop? Why can't you do this? Why can't you move on with your life? Why do you keep on bringing this up? Why do you keep on doing this? You know what? It's not something that you like turning on and off a light switch.
Easier said than done, right?
Exactly. Even if you
Hey,
go, even if you go to counseling and talk to that one-on-one counseling, yeah, it might be able to help you a little bit, but it's not gonna. You're never gonna get cured. There's no way. The doctors, all they do is they sit there and talk to you and feed you prescriptions. That's it. They give you prescriptions, and if that doesn't work. They say, okay, well, you need to stay home now. You're disabled. You know, uh, there's no way to be able to cure what is the mindset that's in your mind.
hey.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Jake.
like, oh, it's like me. It's like I said, my family. That's why I always said I called my family the dysfunctional Brady Bunch, because my mother and father divorced when I was 5. My mother married my father's best friend, who he thought was his best friend at the time. And then he married his best friend's wife. They switched wives. I mean, that's why I said dysfunctional Brady Bunch. But then he became an alcoholic. He molested my brother, my sister, forced my brother and sister to have sex with each other. That screwed my brother up. I believe that's why he became a drug addict and ultimately died from drug overdose. I mean, cancer. I mean, but he overdosed because he was in so much pain. And then, I told my father about it. I caught my stepfather actually having intercourse with my sister when I was 5 years old, and instead of my father believed me, but the school district, when I told my teacher, said, "Oh, I'm making it up." Their answer was to put me in a detention home because they said I was lying, and I was locked up in a detention home, basically a foster home, away from my father. My father tried to get me back, and come to find out, 5 years later, when I was 11 years old, guess what? I mean, they finally gave me back to my mother and my stepfather. Come to find out, my sister went for a physical when she was 9. Well, they found out she was no longer a virgin, and they started doing an investigation. Guess what? I wasn't lying. And to top it all off, my mother refused to leave my stepfather. She left for herself. By the time all of her kids were in their 20s, she left because she got tired of being beaten up by him. I had a lot of hatred for my mother. She left for her. She wouldn't leave for her kids, but she left for herself 20 years after her kids were long grown. How do you think I felt when my father, when he divorced my stepmother, turned around, remarried my mother? People wonder why I hate my mother. How would you like to be there 20 years after the fact, when you're 27 years old, fast forward, walking your mother down the aisle to remarry your father? And you ask her, and I hated my father a little bit because he did that. And I asked him, why would you marry a woman who stayed with a man that molested your children in history of his children, who's never seen his grandchildren even? You know what his answer was? Because he didn't want to be alone. And he said, I'm too old, and your mother's always loved me. But, my mother spent her last 20 years on this earth trying to make up for what she did. Did I forgive her a little? Yep. And you know what the worst part of last year? My father died. And then my mother died right afterwards because you know what the worst part of all last year was? That my stepfather didn't die until after my father. That to me was like the biggest insult of all. Watching my father, who defended me die before that scumbag. The worst part is he got weekends in jail for a year. You can look it up. I'm not going to give his name. You could look up his name if I gave it to you. He got weekends in jail for a year for molesting 6 kids. Tell me where that ain't screwed up.
Yeah, it is definitely screwed up.
I have nightmares every night. Not nightmares, but I go to sleep every night. Wake up with another incident that happened in that house when I was a kid. And it's like people are telling me I'm crazy. He died last year. His own family has disowned him. His house is up on tax sale because he wasn't alive to pay the taxes.
Yep.
My sister and me are going to try and buy that house and tear it down. I know that sounds weird to some people.
No,
Most
it
people,
does not sound weird. When see, I my hometown, I bypass that one particular house where I was sexually abused, and I was sexually abused there when I was like, I'd say 13, maybe 14. This is, jog back my memories further as I can. And the same thing, he groomed me, and I don't have to explain what grooming is. Everybody knows what a grooming is. And it went on for a long period of time. And it wasn't just like months. We're talking about years. I hid it that long. And so people, like, even the counselor says, when I was going to counseling, how come you let it go that long?
oh
I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know how or why. It's something that when you know is a secret and you don't want nobody knowing because you're so afraid of what is happening and you're afraid of telling somebody the outcome of something. Like today, if somebody gets sexually abused, it's easier for them to be able to say something. But now we're talking about mid 80s, late 80s, very early 90s. I don't think it was in the 90s, but it's hard for somebody to be able to do that. So backtrack just a little bit because you're talking about the house tearing it down. As of today, this house is still standing and it's not set off to the road. It is actually right there on the main drag. And this particular road where it's located is one of the major roads for this particular town. So you do have to bypass this house plenty of times, if you're traveling through this town. And every time I go by that house, it gives you that cold chill up your back. And it brings back memories. Just looking at that house and knowing what was being done. So I'm there with you, Mr. Briggs. I know what you're thinking would like to tear it down. Trust me, there's a lot of things I like to do to this house. Uh,
oh yeah. Believe me, if I won the lottery lucky, I'd send you the money to buy that house and a gallon of kerosene, and you'd probably be the first thing you do. You'd probably be out there with a gallon of kerosene, call the fire department, tell them what you're gonna do, and light it.
uh, yeah.
I mean, me, I don't have to bypass this house, and I don't. But I'll give you an example. I'll tell you what made it worse this last year. After my stepfather died, I had to go to his funeral, but not actually go. I was across the street. I wanted to see him go in the ground. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I wanted to see him go in the ground. I wanted to see who showed up. And you know who showed up to his funeral? The Undertaker. His sister sat at the edge. He's got only one sister left, and sat there. And I was like cross the street. She recognized me from, I don't know why, but because that happened in 1979 when the shit hit the fan. She came across the street. She knew who I was, and she says, "Why'd you come? Why did you go say something?" Because I got nothing nice to say. Well, why are you here? You know what your brother did, don't you? Well, what he was accused of. Yeah, he was convicted. He wasn't accused of. His children didn't lie. His stepchildren didn't lie. I mean, he hurt you too. He tarnished your name. And she said, I know that. I said, and I've tried reaching out to my nephews and nieces and I said, yeah. You know what's sad? That man's got over 20 he's got, 10 grandchildren and 15 great grandchildren that he's never seen. And they're your nephews and nieces and great nephews and nieces you've never seen them. That's their loss. How's it their loss? I mean, he died alone. I mean, he got justice. I said, that ain't justice to me. That it ain't. I mean, that man lived a pretty healthy life until he got sick from the, you know what, I don't have to say. And they found him on his front porch trying to go to the doctors. But the worst part about that whole thing, I went up after she left. I walked over. The Undertaker was there, and he knew him personally. He was actually buried in the cemetery across the street from the house he grew up in. How ironic is that? Right next to his own mother. And I said, you know what's funny? If St. Mary's, our mother church, knew what they were putting in the ground there, they would probably rip him out of the ground and put him someplace else. They wouldn't, you know, that Catholic church would not want a pedophile in their cemetery. But anyways, he says, true. I said, I wonder if I should call. You should call. I said, no, he's dead. But he was buried basically in a pine box because he didn't have any flowers, nothing. When that Undertaker asked me, you want to piss on him? He offered to lift his coffin and let me piss on that man's face. And I know that sounds sick. I didn't do it because in my mind that would have put me at the same level as him. But don't think I didn't think about it.
I'd like to say hello to Rosanna. How you doing? So we do have the link that's posted. It's pinned up top. If anybody would like to come on up, you guys all read the headline: depression, anxiety. Yes, I started this all over again. We're gonna try it for a couple weeks. We're gonna see how it happens, how it works out. Hopefully, we could be able to get some help for some people out there. You got that 988 number? Please hit that if you need to talk to somebody. Got Mr. Briggs up on the panel discussing about a few things. We got myself over here discussing about a few things. I do have to clarify a couple things. Well, actually, about myself here. Myself, I don't do anything to be able to harm other people. This is what I do. It made me the way I am as of today. I don't hurt no one. I don't do anything with anybody or anything like that. I just want people to understand, because I was sexually abused and molested by another gentleman. That is not what I do. I don't want people starting to thinking this is, Lucky's pedophile and shit like this. There's no way. There's something else.
No, most people
up in my mind. The reason why I am as of today.
Oh yeah, it changes you. People say I'm an asshole. Well, that's part of the reason why I'm an asshole.
Very much, Miss.
But yeah, I can understand why. I can understand why you probably have nightmares from it. Not every day, but a lot from it.
It's not so much nightmares. It's just so much of the everyday process. As soon as you wake up,
oh yeah,
it's like it's there. To be able to say, okay, well, what is a normal life for myself? What is a normal life? Personally, I don't know what a normal life would be. If my life was different, I think all the time, okay, if I never did get sexually abused, what would my life be? Would it be the same? Or would I have a different type of life of living? That's a question that I raise all the time to myself.
Yep.
Because, every time you turn around, in my situation, going back even with my first marriage, my second marriage, my ex-girlfriends, they all know. But as soon as when we end up splitting up, it's like I'm the bad person because of things that's going through my mind and what things that's been done to me, it stuck with me for my whole entire life. I never hid it from any of my girlfriends, or I should say ex-girlfriends. It was something that before I even got in this relationship, this is who I am. But as soon as when you break it off, it's always that talk behind their backs, and you know, it's. This is what I was trying to explain to you. People don't know your situation unless if they're in your fucking shoes. If they in your shoes, they would know exactly how you feel. People that's never been in this position, having depression and anxiety, will never know how it feels.
It changed.
When you're depressed about one particular thing in life, we'll just say money, it's completely different from being depressed because you're sexually abused. Because when you're sexually abused, that's stuck in your life. That's stuck in your head for the rest of your life. As much as you try to be able to get help for it or talk to somebody about it, it's not going to disappear.
No.
Jane says, well, my situation was different. I wasn't molested, but I did forgive my abuser in order for me to have peace of mind. It still bothers me today, but I still go on no matter how hard it is. See, that's the problem I have. I've told my counselor this, and I told very few people this. When I was getting sexually abused from this gentleman, I shouldn't call him gentleman, but from this person, it was one of those things that, okay, every day after school, go home, do what you need to do, and run over this house. One day I did. Knocked on the door. No answer. Knocked on the door. No answer. Finally, I let myself in. He OD'd on his couch. Because he OD'd on the couch and what was going on, I got scared. I took the needle and the towel, and I went in the backyard and I buried it. After that, I left. And when I left, I ended up leaving my home, which is, I ran away from home. I didn't know how to handle everything. When I ran away from home, I was gone for a while, maybe a day, 2 days. All I remember at that time is somebody ended up picking me up. I was far away from home. Goddamn, fucking far. Some guy picked me up and asked if I needed a ride. I said yes. And we traveled. He asked where I was going. I told him. He says, well, no shit a lie, that's the town I'm going to. Couldn't believe it. You can fucking believe me or not, but this is a true story. As we were driving back to the town, I seen two of my relatives walking the streets, probably looking for me. Where I got dropped off, believe it or not, I can't mention his name's house, but he lived in Arctic. And he was insurance man for this family that I've known for many, many years. What are the coincidental things that actually outcomed on all of that? Something told me I had to go back home. To be able to have this gentleman pick me up and bring me back to the same exact town, and that person known another, like a good friend of the family. Uh, it's just the closure, like we are talking about. I never got that closure. Maybe because that's what's haunting me. I was never able to realize everything that I was doing wrong. I was
Yeah.
told never blame yourself. You got to blame the person that accused of molesting you. That's the thing. I blame myself. That's probably what's killing me from inside out, because I'm blaming myself for all this. It came to a point where, you know, I overdosed on some medications. I tried to commit suicide. I went through a lot of counseling. I learned through all that. God put you on this earth. God kept you on this earth for a particular reason. I don't know what that is, but you know what? I'm surviving every day. I'm trying my best to be able to make my life the best as it is. I have my ups, I have my downs, just like everybody else. But deep in heart, I'm still hurting. The counselors, they don't do shit. They give you prescriptions. I'm afraid to take prescriptions because I'll have that thinking of, okay, well, it didn't work the first time. Let's try it another time. But yet, I don't want to. But the option's there. That's the reason why I don't do the prescriptions. So the only way I could be able to, you know, make myself feel better is to be able to help other people. This is another reason why I used to do the food donations, because me knowing that there's people worse situations than I am, it made me feel good knowing that I was able to go out there and help somebody, you know, with a hot meal or a cold meal or something like that. This is the reason why it makes me feel good when I come here and discuss about this, because knowing I'm not the only person out here that's surviving every day. There's plenty of people out here surviving. But that's my job as a good friend, a good YouTuber, to be able to see if I could be able to pull these people from that inside that computer to that screen on the other side of the screen and bring them to me, where I could be able to try to help them out and explain to them they're not alone. I'm here. Maybe not the exact situation with the same issues you have, but yet I have the same feelings that I could be able to share and tell my stories and listen to your stories. So this is what this YouTube broadcast is all about. I'm here to be able to listen, and I want people to listen to me. You know, I'm just trying to be able to live every day the best I can. And sometimes it's hard to be able to live that life knowing that shit's still stuck in your head. Knowing that people are still talking about you every day. They don't know how to let you go and live your own life because they're so obsessed with the situation that's going on with your life in a negative way. Instead of being negative against you, they should be more positive with you and try to help you. But people don't realize that because that's not the way the society is today. The way the society is today is all about hate and,
That's
drama.
true.
It's not like the 40s, the 50s, and early 60s when it was peace and love. It's not like that no more. So it's hard for people like myself or yourself or people that's in this panel or on the chat to be able to come out and discuss about certain things because they're afraid not to say anything. They're afraid about hurting somebody else's feelings because how they feel. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being, labeled. That's the way this world is. If you come and be outspoken and say something that you want to say, what's really hurting you or what you want to do, and you tell this particular person, okay, this is the reason why I'm not happy, and you tell them, you know what they do? They turn it around and make it seem like you're the fucking bad person.
Oh
No,
yeah.
I'm not the bad person. I'm telling you how I feel. This is what I see. Well, it doesn't make sense because you're being honest with somebody. You tell somebody, okay, well, I'm having a bad day. I'm depressed. I've been seeing this or whatever, and they turn around and make you look like a bad person because you're outspoken and want to talk and try to talk to somebody. They don't want to. They want to hear what they only want to hear. You try to tell somebody who you are, and people look at you, and the first thing they do is, oh, so you're a fag. No, I'm not a no fag. I like women. But I'm telling you, I was sexually abused by another guy. Well, if you've been with another guy, how could you be with a woman? Okay, what part don't you fucking understand? The part was I was sexually abused when I was young, but yet I don't want to be with a guy. I want to be with a woman. But yet I still get fucking labeled for that. I still get labeled for what was done to me and what is in my mind and what I do as of today. And that's what killed me inside because I've been labeled for that for my whole entire life.
Yep. I've never been labeled that, but I've been, called other things. But either way, that's still the same idea. You get labeled.
Thank you, Rosanna. It is these type of panels that I host. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. This is coming straight from my heart. This is the type of panels I enjoy doing. But when I do something like this, it hurts me a lot. But yet at the end of the panel, when I click that end of broadcast, it makes me feel good knowing that I got so much off my chest and knowing that there's people that listen to me and also came up on the panel and discussed about their problems. Because again, this is not all about me. This is about everybody. But because I haven't done this in a long time, I'm trying to open up to let people know it is okay to come up on a panel or say something in the chat, especially when I do the depression and anxiety videos. Because if I'm willing to prove and tell the world who I am and what I'm doing and what's going on here, that should be enough courage for anybody else to come and do it. Because seriously, this is taking a lot for me to be able to do this, to tell the world my business, stuff that nobody has to know unless if I choose to tell them. So if I go on the side of the street, I don't need to tell nobody what I do. But you know what? I'm choosing to do this on YouTube. Not for ratings, not for people come and hit that subscribe or anything like that, it's because I want to be here knowing that I can help somebody as much as they're helping me. You know what they say, one hand washes the other.
I think the worst part about is you get labeled by your own family too sometimes. I mean, there's, for years my mother didn't tell my sister. She waited till she was almost dead that I was the reason why I was put into a group home type of situation. She told her a month before she died, and my sister never knew I did it because he was hurting her. And now my sister and I are closer now, but she never realized what happened to me when I was a kid, why it happened. She was only a baby. I'm 5 years older than her. I mean, but that's just the way the world is,
Jeff, let's see. I was abused when I was young. It took me nearly 30 years that it was real and not my imagination. That's tough. That's very tough because there's a lot of thinking in there. The thinking is, was it done?
Yep.
Don't know. Reason why is the denial that you wanted to hold back. I was not sexually abused, but yet it came to your mind all the time. And that's tough. Denial. You have to face your fears. And once you face your fears and recognize the issue and recognize the problem, you could overcome the issue. But you need to recognize it for yourself. You don't need somebody else telling you, okay, this is what happened. No, I don't need nobody to tell me what happened. I know what will happen. I was there. You wasn't. So you don't need somebody to tell you that. It's the fear.
Yeah.
You have to
Well,
recognize yourself.
Worst part is, you didn't want to tell anybody because you're afraid they wouldn't believe you. Look at me. I told somebody and they didn't believe me. It took them another 5 years before anybody believed me. The only one who believed me was my father. And he tried right then. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact it took years, it took 5 years. I mean, I no one believed me.
With me, it took a long time for me to be able to say something to my family and friends. I was still in denial when I was with my first marriage. It came to let's see, after my first marriage, it's basically when I told my family. Uh, that's pretty much the reason why I had to is because people didn't know how to keep their mouth quiet, and because they knew they could be able to hurt me in that particular way. So they started opening up their mouth and spreading it all over the place. I lost a lot of friends, lost some family because of who I was and exactly who I was. That was me. But after realizing, yes, it was tough for many, many years after that to be able to acknowledge I was sexually abused and during the divorce and everything that went on. Very, very tough. A lot of things built up, a lot of things came out. I lost a lot of friends. I also gained some friends. Uh, I did receive some help. Apparently, it wasn't good enough because I tried to take my life. Uh, I'm here now. I'm happy. Uh, try to deal with everything. So, anyways, I just lost the words. I just trying to put everything together. Everything is going through my mind and everything. I'm trying my best to be able to keep a good host on the panel, and it's tough. Let's see. It was a counselor that helped me to realize I was real. It happened to me many times to be imagined. All right, so my counselor was, I can't say the town, but her name was Brittany. Uh, this counselor did help me in a way, but again, did not help me to, excuse me, feel like I was cured. Because you can't be cured of this. There's no way. This counselor made me feel okay. Yeah, she shed a lot of tears. I shouldn't say she. She had me shed a lot of tears. And it was questions that I was asking her, and she couldn't be able to answer it. You know what she did? She sat there. I don't know, Pat. And she pretty much sat there and just jotted everything down. At the end of the session, you leave her office, you wait in the room, you go up to the window, you get your prescriptions, and they send you on the way.
Yeah, that's what they try and do.
Yep, go ahead, Briggs.
That's what they try and do is stuff you full of drugs. They tried to give me drugs, and they wanted me to say. I mean, they tried to put me in counseling, and the reason why they said we'll let you go home if you admit you lied about that man. And I said I'm not lying. One of these days, the truth will come out. They tried giving me drugs like Ritalin, Haldol. It's like and they tried to force me to take them, and my stepmother tried to force them in my mouth a couple times. I said, I like, why you're doing something wrong, and I feel like I'm being punished. That was my biggest thing. It's that was my biggest fear. We had a chief of police at the time in my little town. I live in a little town, believe it or not. And I told the chief of police, and the chief of police actually believed me, but there was no evidence. He couldn't do anything. But 5 years, like I said, it took 5 years. In all those years, that was the answer. Admit that you were wrong, and say it didn't happen. We'll let you go home. And I was only allowed to go home on weekends, and they took me right every other weekend. I'd be at that house, and then I'd be at my father's. But when the shit, like I said, it took 5 years for the shit they had to ban. But all those 5 years, it's like maybe I shouldn't do something. It's like I wanted to go home because I was basically in kids' jail because I said something that was true.
Right. So to get back, what I was saying is when I went got my meds, they sent me on the way home. They had this posting on the wall, group therapy. So I asked Brittany, counselor, I said, "What is group therapy? What is it? I never heard of it." She says basically when you have a group of people that suits who you are, either drug addicts or sex offenders or somebody that end up dying and you have depression, anxiety, and so this particular group was for depression and anxiety about issues. So she signed me up to the group. I ended up going. I got more outcome, more things to look forward to from those groups because there are other people just like myself. I was listening to their stories and they were listening to mine. I learned more about myself in those groups than I learned through the counselor. Mindset. That's a big thing. You have to have a good mindset on something. So when I'm really, really feeling down and about, I place my mind on one particular thing. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it don't. But most of the time, when you set your mind on something to accomplish that goal, to make you feel good, it could be the smallest tiny thing, but it accomplished my goal. So this is what happened to me yesterday. I needed some pipe tobacco. So I go up to the tobacco store. I usually walk in there and they have the tobacco inside a walk-in humidor. So I go in there and there's none there. The guy says, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll get it for you. I know where it is." Okay. So he gets it, weighs it up. I usually get 3 ounces. It's about $15, and hands me a bag. Okay. I get home. I take my pipe and light it up. It's cigarette tobacco. It's not pipe tobacco. It tastes fucking gross. So, of course, late at night, okay, I smoke it. I try. I couldn't do it. So, first thing that I did this morning, I got my mindset. It has nothing really to do with the depression and anxiety, but it was my mindset that I was going to locate somewhere else to be able to get a bag of tobacco for a pipe. Make sure it's not cigarette tobacco. So I get up, have my coffee, do what I have to do. That's the only thing that's on my mind, because my mind is set to be able to get pipe tobacco, because this is not going to work for me. That stuff is not going to work. It kept my mind off of my normal routine. So that's what I'm trying to say. A mindset. I ended up getting real pipe tobacco, so I'm happy. I did really well today. I mindset on something, kept my mind off of something to be able to progress through the day without thinking of negative things about depression, anxiety. There's a lot of things that you could be able to do to get your mind off it. It doesn't have to be smoking. That's what I enjoy. That relaxes me. Some people like the house clean. Trust me, I get pissed off. I get aggravated. You're gonna see me pushing a broom, or picking up, folding clothes, or washing dishes, or something. That I notice when I get aggravated, it gets my mindset where you're gonna clean. I'm not the type of person to go and throw a tamper shit and stop throwing things and get aggravated and cause any problems. I'm the type of person that's just going to say what I need to say. You don't like it because I'm outspoken. It is what it is. But I try to keep myself occupied because I have a mindset of something else. Keep your mind going on something positive. Let's see. Kept a secret for nearly 30 years, mostly because I doubted it myself. That is very tough. Very tough. Once I accepted it, it was real that when things started getting better, my abuser died before I could confront him. Same situation that I had. If you heard about the situation, how I went to his house and there was no answer. The outcome with that is when that happened, I disappeared. I ran away from home. When I did decide to come home, I already knew what was going on. I didn't say anything to nobody. It was just like I stopped going to his house. Just stopped. Reason why I know I stopped, because he wasn't there no more. Whatever happened after I left and buried that stuff in his backyard. Who knows? I don't know. There's word out that some other family member found him like 3 days later. This is, after asking, friends that knew him, but I didn't say anything what I see. It is what it is. It's just something that happened over 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah. You know what
I
the worst part is? Probably when you went to counseling, they probably want you to describe what he did word for word. It's like, you don't want to repeat that.
No, they really didn't say anything regarding that. That lady Brittany, the counselor, I said what I had to say, and again, that's all she was good for, taking notes. But when I had to ask a question, she couldn't respond to it because, again, how could you be a counselor for something like this and you never been abused, so you can't be able to answer these questions because you don't know the feeling.
Oh, you could be a good counselor, probably.
So it's 7:15. I wanted to run this panel at least till 8 o'clock. Like to go from 6 to 8. I've been watching. We had average 10 people floating in and out of this video here. I really like to continue it. I know it's hard for people to come up on the panel, but please share the video. We're going to try to make this every Friday, see how good it goes. Hopefully we could get some new people up here to talk on the panel, some new faces. We'll see what happens. I am not a doctor. I'm just somebody that's trying to survive every day after being sexually abused. I know there's a lot of people out there that hasn't been sexually abused, but they have a lot of depression, and it could be anything because of a death or anything that happened. Take one day at a time. Do something positive. Put your mindset on something. If you watch all my other videos with this depression and anxiety, I always told everybody, all right, you got a straight road. Picture this now. Close your eyes. Think what I'm saying. A straight road. I mean, this road is perfect. Okay? You got flowers on the other side. It's a beautiful, most beautiful road as possible could be. Nice and straight, no bumps, no nothing. Also, you have a left-hand turn and a right-hand turn. So at this intersection, you could continue straight, which that is perfect. Nice straight line, rosy-gozy, everything goes perfect in your life. Everybody wants that road. Everybody wants that road. Because it's perfect. Nothing's going to happen. You have no bumps in your life. Nothing. But at this intersection, if you're depressed and you have anxiety, you have options to go straight, which nobody's life is going to ever be perfect because you know that something's going to happen. So you know you can't go straight. If you take that right-hand turn at that intersection, knowing in the top of your head, okay, my life is not perfect, but you know what? There's going to be bumps in this road. I'm going to be okay. Good mindset for the day. Smell the flowers on each side, but yet there's going to be a little bump there. You know what? I'm going to be able to handle that bump. Because at that end of the day, your mindset was done first thing in the morning, and you know you accomplished that goal because you put your mindset for something early in the morning. But there's also, at this intersection, a left-hand turn. This left-hand turn has this big-ass crater in the road. I mean, it is so friggin' big. You take this left-hand turn, you fall in this hole, this crater. You're not getting out. It's too deep. At that bottom of that crater is death. Remember that. You have a choice in your life to have a good mindset by taking that right-hand turn, knowing that there's going to be bumps in your road, in your life. But at the end of the day, your mindset is to be able to do something that you wanted to do or accomplish a goal. But if there's ever that time you want to take that left-hand turn, fall into that crater, always stop and remember 24 hours live chat, 911, talk to somebody. 988, talk to somebody. Pick up the phone, call somebody, talk to somebody. And if you can't be able to do that, stop what you're doing and go visit somebody. Don't be alone. There's always somebody that you could be able to talk to or go and see. Even if it's opening your house door and yelling help. So, that is my panel. I'm hoping everybody will come back next Friday. I do pop up lives during the week, but every Friday for a little while I'm going to do the depression anxiety videos. Hopefully we could get some new people in there. Briggs, is there anything you'd like to add? Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm just it's always hard. You can't control everything.
Right.
Right. Don't mind me. It's just this October is my least favorite month because it's the same month my mother died, and even though things happened in the 26th, my father would have been 80. So it's like it's not easy.
Right. All right, so depression anxiety videos every Friday between 6 and 8. I'd like to keep it till 8 o'clock, but this is the new one, the first one. Please, everybody out there, share this video, get the word out there. 988, if anybody has any issues. Everybody knows who I am. You can be able to locate me on Facebook. If you don't have me on Facebook, inbox me. Comment on one of my videos. I'm going to get the message. And if there's a way I could be able to help you out, more than glad to try to help you out. Till next time, I thank you everybody for showing up, hitting that like and hitting the share. We'll talk to you all guys later.